Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about the New Jersey Devils today. They've been in discussions with which goalie they might pick up and all of this, and then the question becomes, is it too late in the season? So that's probably what I'll title the video. My answer to that is no, I don't think it's too late in the season, but as I've mentioned in recent videos, especially the recent standings video, it's rare. It's rare for a team that's sitting 4 points out of the playoffs to jump into the playoffs with about 30 games left. I know how weird that sounds, but it doesn't happen that often. So right now, the New Jersey Devils, 26, 21, and 4, 56 points. They've played 51 games. They are 4 points behind the two wildcard teams, which are Detroit and Toronto. They are 5 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have 61 points. Tampa Bay has played 3 more games than Toronto. They've played 2 more games than both Detroit and New Jersey. So there's reason for encouragement, but as I've mentioned before, the teams that have played less games, like New Jersey, it means they've got a very busy schedule the rest of the way. And it's not easy to keep up with teams when you're playing more than they are, too. And they're also currently tied with the New York Islanders in points. They have 1 game in hand on the Islanders. They're 2 points ahead of Washington, 3 points ahead of Pittsburgh. And, of course, if you look at the models, Pittsburgh's remaining schedule is not as difficult as others, including New Jersey. So definitely reason to be concerned if you're the Devils. And their upcoming schedule, not easy. So tonight they're at Nashville, and that's after being at home last night against Seattle. They have a very rough schedule, or very rough record, I should say, when they have those back-to-backs on their schedule. I think they're like 1-7-1. So it's a bad number on the back-to-backs. I didn't put it on the board because I don't feel like it's that pertinent to whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. But then on Thursday, they're at home against LA. Saturday's the stadium game against Philadelphia. So that's a big game for New Jersey and Philadelphia. Should be a lot of fun. Then the following Tuesday, they're at Washington. Thursday, they're at home against the New York Rangers. Saturday, at home against the Montreal Canadiens. Sunday against Tampa Bay. That's at home as well. So that's back-to-back games right there. No other back-to-backs. And then Tuesday, they're in San Jose. Now, that's worthy of a little asterisk. San Jose, easy game, right? But San Jose has ex-members of the New Jersey Devils, including a goaltender who would love to beat New Jersey, and that means that they go from Sunday at home against Tampa to playing Tuesday at San Jose. That's 3 time zones over, and it's only 1 day in between to get acclimated. And as we saw with Carolina early in the season, that can be tough. Carolina got kind of roughed up on their road trips out west twice, so New Jersey has to avoid that kind of fate if they're really and truly going to get back into the hunt, which means that a trade for a goaltender, the sooner they can make that, the better. So when we look at their scoring by period, they don't have a period where they've scored more than they've allowed other than overtime. They've scored and allowed the same number of goals in both the first and the third. I did a double take too. 46 goals scored and allowed in the first period, 66 goals scored and allowed in the third period. In the second period, they've allowed 62, they've scored 55, and in overtime, they've scored 5 and allowed 3. One of the big problems for New Jersey is they find themselves behind the 8 ball right away. And this can be pegged on goaltending and on defense, right? And we will talk about both with New Jersey. So when they score first, it's happened 15 times out of their 51 games. That's problematic. They're 10-3-2. So if they score first, they have an excellent chance of winning. If they trail first, that's happened 36 times. They have a record of 16-18-2. So start on time, get that first goal, and get the goaltending. And New Jersey's in pretty good shape. So while New Jersey gets focused on for a lot of failures, the reality is their biggest failure might be that they trail first, more often than not. Far more often than not. I think they've allowed the first goal the most of any team in the league. I know that was the case not too long ago. May very well still be the case. But in a 1-goal game, they have a pretty good record. They're 12-4-4 if it's a 1-goal game. If it's a 2-goal game, they're 6-5. If the separation between the winner and loser is 3 goals or more, they're 8-12. So if it's a game with a whole bunch of goals, they're probably not winning it. And they are more likely to get blown out than they are to blow the other team out. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because goal differential is often looked at in terms of which teams are stronger come that playoff crunch. So the goaltending gets focused on a lot, rightfully so. The interesting thing is Vanacek has the best record, but he has the worst numbers. 17-9-3 record with an .890 save percentage. Akira Schmid, 5-7-1 with an .893 save percentage. Nico Daws, who I've been very vocally supportive of, think he's a good goaltender. 4-5 with a 903 save percentage. None of those save percentages at league average. I think league average is currently 904, which is right around where it's been for the last few years. I think it's peaked at like 907. But Dawes, I think, has been the best of the three goalies, but record-wise, it's Vanacek. Vanacek this year is doing what we saw Martin Jones do last year in Seattle, where the numbers weren't necessarily great from a goaltending perspective, but the win-loss record was. The team is sporting an 893 save percentage. That is only ahead of Carolina and Ottawa. Their 3.47 goals against per game is ahead of only Chicago, Montreal, Ottawa, Columbus, and San Jose. And what do those teams have in common? None of them are close to the playoff position right now. The New Jersey's close to. They're not that far off from it. So what's interesting is they're allowing more goals than almost everybody else. Their save percentage is bad. It's interesting that they're ahead of Carolina, because we've talked about Carolina's goaltending plenty this year. And it really highlights that, yes, New Jersey and Carolina, if not for goaltending, and you can throw defense in there in New Jersey's case. It's hard to argue that with Carolina. They have a stellar defensive crew there. But yeah, New Jersey, the defense, they need something. And so we'll go through that. First, I want to talk about their top 9 forwards. And I put right here, solid top 9. And honestly, they are. I don't think there's a need to add a top 9 forward. They might, but I don't think they have to. So Bratt leads the way with 20 goals, 35 assists, 55 points in 51 games. He stayed above a point per game, which he didn't last season. Hughes, that's Jack Hughes on this one, 35 games, 16 goals, 31 assists, 47 points. Struggled a bit in his return, got a goal and an assist last night, so we'll see how he does tonight and if he can keep up this momentum. Toffoli, 50 games, 22 goals, 13 assists, 35 points. Toffoli is a 30-goal scorer, so they're getting that from him. They got 22 goals thus far. Heischer, 40 games, 14 goals, 19 assists, 33 points. Good, solid two-way forward. And so whether he's a point per game or not, he is still a useful forward for them. Howla, 45 games, 11 goals, 15 assists, 26 points. Good supportive scorer. Mercer, 51 games, 15 goals, 10 assists, 25 points. Wouldn't be surprised to see him with more than 25 goals by the time the season's done. Holtz is an interesting one. If he can get the goal scoring rolling, great. 51 games, 12 goals, 11 assists, 23 points. Timo Meier, the scoring has dropped off. 38 games, 9 goals, 11 assists, 20 points. So, a year ago we were all talking about the trade between San Jose and New Jersey and how New Jersey clearly won it, but Meier's play really has made it so it's a little bit more of a murky picture when you're looking at that trade. Palat, 41 games, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points. He's been productive since returning from injury, but again, that's a good top 9. So I think the forwards are fine, and we'll get to the goal scoring numbers because their goal scoring is fine. That's not been the problem. The defense is. So you've got Luke Hughes leading the defense in scoring. 8 goals, 18 assists, 26 points in 51 games. I think they rely on Luke Hughes a little bit too much at this point. Why? Because they don't have Dougie Hamilton. In the 20 games he played before injury, 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points. There is nobody on this blue line who has that offensive ability all-around game that Hamilton does. The loss of Dougie Hamilton has been huge for the New Jersey Devils. He was a huge part of that team last year, and him not being in the lineup this year has made a dramatic difference, I think, in how the defense has worked right from the top to the bottom. And, this is a team that traded out Severson. I don't know if you trade Severson if you know you're going to lose Hamilton for most of the year. Maybe you keep Damon Severson. Marino, 51 games, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points. Nemitz, 30 games, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points. Nemitz and Hughes are the future. Should be basically insulated at this point by veterans. That's part of the reason you have Hamilton. And they haven't really been able to give them the kind of protection that you need for young defensemen. And that's definitely been problematic. Siegenthaler, 38 games, 1 goal, 7 assists. Ball, 8 assists in 51 games for Ball. Colin Miller, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 31 games. I think he's been decent, but he's not the defenseman he was, say, 5-6 years ago. Brandon Smith, who takes turns at forward as well. 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points in 34 games. Hataka, since being recalled, he's played 7 games. He's got 2 assists. I think he's an underrated part of that trade from the San Jose Sharks, but it is a rough blue line. And it shows in the numbers, and I think it affects the save percentage as well. Your goaltender save percentage is going to drop if you're facing a lot of prime opportunities in front of the net. It feels like that's been the case with New Jersey this year. That being said, let's take a look at the stats from last year compared to this year. Last year, they were scoring 3.52 goals per game. This year, 3.37. Very respectable number. Again, I think their forward group's been just fine. I don't think there's a problem with the goals. The defensive side of things, it's a dramatic difference. Last year, 2.71 goals against per game. This year, 3.47, which, as mentioned, is ahead of not a lot of teams. And the ones they're ahead of, nowhere near the playoffs. The shots per game tells you they're not shooting as much. They've gone from 34.4 shots per game down to 31.4. So if you get your shots back up to 34.4, you're probably scoring more than you did last year. But the shots against have changed a bit. They've gone from 28.2 shots allowed per game last year to 29.9 this year. My guess is there's more high danger chances against this year than there were last year as well, which is going to reflect in goaltending numbers, and it's going to hurt the defensive numbers all around. So this is a team that absolutely needs a goaltender. They also, I think, need a puck-moving defenseman, preferably a veteran, somebody who can step in so that Nemitz and Hughes can develop at their own rate and not necessarily be like the go-to guys, which it feels like at times Luke Hughes has been. And this experience is going to be great for Hughes at a later date, but for right now, New Jersey needs to make the playoffs. And so I think that, like, for instance, the Calgary rumor that's out there is Markstrom. If they added Markstrom and Hanifin, if they were able to add both, that would go a long way to helping New Jersey out. Just throwing that name out there because Hanifin's a very good offensive defenseman and would be able to put up points. Not like Dougie Hamilton, but he'd be able to put up points. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Is it too late for New Jersey or is it not? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I hope they make it. I do. I hope they do, and we'll see whether or not that ends up being the case. But yeah, thank you guys for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.